Hello, I'm Bell, and an unfortunately common thing I've seen more rampant than ever is infighting in just about every Halo community I'm in. The foundation of why I joined any of these is, well, to talk about something we all very much enjoy. I'm not going to stand here, be a weirdo, say nobody can disagree on what they like. There'd be no conversation in any of these servers if everyone was on the same page. This is naturally what happens in a series as large as this. Many games and varying gameplay, not to mention side stuff like the books that are engineered to fill you with existential dread and force you to examine human nature for some reason. Then, Halo Legends, Red vs. Blue, my favorite. The list goes on. Of course, I'd never have an issue with someone not liking any of those or making it known in a Halo Discord or something like that. You know, it's a place built for that. Fuck, just yelling it on YouTube like I do? Like, Chris Raygun talking about the lack of sprint in early Halo is such a good watch. Where I start to see an underlying toxicity, though, is people continuing to say that the new batch of fans who just discovered Halo because of Infinite, or have only played Infinite, aren't real fans. And this isn't just like a one-off thing that some dude said in a VC. I've seen this shit so many times, with just this Dorito-crusted attempt to alienate people who are likely in a similar position as they were early on. Like, holy shit, this dude's 13. How the fuck would he even have played Halo 3 back in the day? A weird defense I've heard is about preserving culture. It's a bizarre exaggeration, as if there's a limited amount of people who can like Halo. And you know, these youngins who are interested in it due to Halo Infinite are gentrifying your gamer-fuel painted neighborhoods. I hate to say it, gamers, but that Halo you were going on about died when Bungie stopped making Halo. And guess what your old pal's first Halo was? Halo 4. You want to know why? I was some random kid who only got it because I watched a video on the Forge mode. Halo 4 and Call of Duty Advanced Warfare were my only Xbox 360 games for a while. Two franchises I love, and my introduction on both were arguably the worst games in their respective franchise. I wrote this script before I played Vanguard. At no point was I ever not a fan when I began to really get into either a few years down the line, because I happened to start with either of these. Just the same way I haven't played Ghosts, but I can still clown on that shit. These exact metrics of what a certain individual would consider to be a fan of something is so minute and personal, it begins to stop mattering. Why the hell can a fan of something simply be someone who enjoys it? It's because people need to feel special, you know? This is my clubhouse, no girls allowed. This is my Discord server, no Halo Infinite fans allowed. Now, excluding specific examples that I could make my own video on, like people who admire the Joker in The Dark Knight or jerk off to Patrick Bateman, the issue of being a fan of something should probably end at whether you're actually a fan of it or not. Being a fan of different aspects, interpretations, or issues in said series is the fun of conversation and why I hope anybody would want to join a community, gush, analyze, and critique about it. As I began to ponder this kind of behavior, though, it reminded me of the only group more discriminated against than the gamer, the blue-haired SJW, a group of people so unintelligent and ready to throw anybody under the bus, they resemble ancient primates more than the average Joe Rogan fan does. A group of people who are constantly belittled for traits I almost admire, dyed hair, roasting douchebags on college campuses. Hey, that sounds like a night out with the boys. Unfortunately, they go about it in the most toxic way possible, managing to have such a lack of grace and self-awareness that they catapulted a rambling pill popper into the mainstream because they took the bait that he let out so hard. And let me tell you, the most fucking irritating subspecies of human is known as the TERF. A group of people who got sick of the genuine, consistent oppression and opposition facing women and decided to make some up instead. Because who needs to do anything about any of the actual issues you claim to care about? You can commonly find them at the local Barnes & Noble, holding a cup of coffee paid for by their parents, perfectly able to avoid workplace discrimination until later in life, where they have to work a real job instead of reposting infographics on Instagram and replacing the human touch they starve themselves with from a vibrator they got from Spencer's, and office binges they gaslight themselves into thinking are just as fun as whatever Olivia or Reed is doing at the same time. Now, these creatures consistently treat identity the same way that the dicks in this Discord and Reddit treat being a Halo fan. An exclusivity and gatekeeper behavior created out of thin fucking air. A declaration to the world that you need to be special without actually creating, working, or God forbid, making an effort to be your true self. It's just a kind of behavior inherently shitty and exclusionary to parties that don't need approval, or behavior that again is trying to simultaneously declare a distinct and self-important claim of individualism while an announcement that you're in a group of people made up of other people that happen to be in a similar position. A behavior and mindset that is toxic when it comes to this shit that kind of doesn't matter, like being involved in a conversation about video games, or can have real-world consequences like the hateful bile that the TERFs love to shout in order for them to have a leg up on the ever-continuing oppression pissing contest. Humans are, of course, social animals, so the only reason you'd label yourself anything is to find those similar to you. Well, at the end of the day, just talk about shit with. It's understandable that the knee-jerk reaction to someone coming from a different perspective than you, that's claiming to be in the same group as you, is to exclude them. You know, it's an immature and dickish way to react, but an inherently human one. The entire point of groups or discussion is not a fucking echo chamber, and at the end of the day, in these circles, usually do agree on the fundamentals. No single individual can be the decider on what liking something or being someone is, no matter how opinionated and loud they shout it. I love hearing everybody's opinions and takes on shit that I'm interested in, especially if it's a perspective that I can't directly relate to. Like, goddamn, I was in a VC till the early morning the other night with this one Hispanic kid who had only read the Halo novels and watched Let's Plays because he didn't have anything to run them on or the money to buy things to run them on. It was insane to go back and forth on the justifications of characters' actions and how we just built on top of each other's perspective. It's a conversation that made me love Halo even more. And what, is anyone here to stand and say because he wasn't having a jerk-off session in the VC of Blood Gulch in 2006 that he's not a real fan? I touched on it a little bit earlier, but the entire perspective I've been dissecting is rooted in the sad veil of insecurity and fetishization of validation. The validation they lack from the doctors saying, why yes, you actually are unhealthy from your sedentary lifestyle, and you need to drink some water every once in a while. Instead of any professional giving them validation and approval from how cool their Steam library is. Newsflash, people, society probably won't be any different after you get a kill with a pistol across the map while moving on the fan in Last Resort. But guess what? That shit still fucking ruled. There's these pure joys in life, as great as just letting yourself fucking go for a weekend, just being completely into a video game. Video games are art, and what you actually gain from them is nothing else a more visceral response than any other form of art. If anybody was as confident as they were about their position in life, they wouldn't need to go out to attempt to invalidate someone else because of things they couldn't control. There's this inherent looming self-consciousness that comes from the perspective of needing to yell at the world, "I'm special." And it creates a cognitive dissonance when they justify that by saying that they're part of a group. I need to identify in a world that defines identity by how similar you are to other people. That's not where identity comes from. I'm not in your little group, then I don't want to be. I just want to be in the group of people who are accepting and just cool to shoot the shit with. I don't want to be in a real fan of anything. That means a real fan can't have a fucking life. I don't want to do anything where it requires you to make a personality trait out of something for it to be seen as legitimate by another no life. For fuck's sake, I'm making some Halo commentary video right now. I'll say it loud and proud, I'm just some gamer with piss that melts through the floor like xenomorph blood because of all the monster energy in my daily diet. But I don't have illusions about what I'm doing here. I love it, and you should love yourself too. If someone else being themselves makes you invalidated, you need to make peace with the mirror. You need to start respecting yourself before ever trying to shit on them.